Take us on silent.
It is Monday, December 20th, 6:30 p.m. I'd like to call this workshop session of the Lewisville City Council to order. We do have a quorum. First up is a brief review of the regular agenda items and consent agenda items. Council, we're just going to move through that briefly. If you have anything you'd like to make a comment on. Start with public hearing number 1. Public hearing number 2.
Mayor, public hearing number 2 is where you do have that replacement document.
Yes, that's right. You may notice here in your packets that in public hearing number 2, we do have revised attachments for item 2. You want to take a quick look at that. That is different from what was in the packets that were sent out to council earlier, but they are online.
Is there going to be a presentation on this?
There will be a presentation.
Okay.
Consent agenda, item 3. Item 4. Item 5. Item 6. Item 7. Item 8. Item 9. Item 10. Item 11. Item 12. Item 13.
Just a minute on this. Okay, this is just regarding the adjustments.
Correct.
Y'all got several Republic.
Correct. Yes.
I'm good.
Thank you. Item 14. Council, does anyone have a recommendation for Park Board this evening?
Is it Chris Crawford? We have one, right?
Mm-hmm.
That would be my recommendation.
Item 15. Item 16.
Let me ask you something on this. This is the, okay, this is just the fee schedule they're admitting, never mind.
Yeah, so the first one just says that we
Right.
acknowledge that by the contract we're escalating, and then
Right.
this one is just putting
Got
it in
it.
Item 18. Item 19.
And this is on the consent agenda, or are we on?
No, we're off the consent agenda.
Okay, 19, I have some questions on this.
And we'll have a presentation, is that correct?
We will have a presentation.
I do not have a presentation prepared, but I could bring up the illustrations.
Okay, my question is, the problem I have with this, it may not be a problem, okay? It just, an alarm bell went off when I read this. After riding with Santa, this alarm bell really went off after I read this. And it is waiving the 2,400, no, I think I checked that off. Which one was it? It was to allow a fire and life safety emergency access only driveway to be constructed at less than 300 feet minimum. How's that going to affect things? I can't tell you the problems we had getting out of some places when just simply driving with Santa. Is this going to affect that? And, I mean, what does that do?
Well, this would be a gated driveway, so it would only be used for emergency services vehicles in the event of an emergency.
Well, I understand that, but it's the length of it and stuff.
It's because it's closeness to the intersection. Normally, we don't like any driveways near an intersection, so this is allowing that to meet the fire access requirements, but it still would prohibit normal traffic from using it, which would present the dangerous situation having normal traffic coming in and out of that drive so close to the intersection.
Okay, Chief, you understand what I'm talking about?
Yes, and with it being a controlled gate just for us, it should not pose any issues that,
Okay.
that you're talking about.
Okay, thank you.
All right, that is the last item on the agenda. All right, with no other questions or requests to remove any items off of the consent, we will go ahead and move into workshop session item B, discussion of the development of a communication master plan associated with the city's signal network. And we have our Director of ITS, Mr. Chris Lee, to conduct the presentation.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
There we go. I was waiting on my presentation to come up. So I wanted to spend some time with you this evening to really give you an overview of what we're accomplishing with this traffic network. I believe in 2018, Council was briefed initially when we took on this endeavor, and I am pleased to say that as of today, we started the actual construction phase. Over at 407, the water tower, that's the first piece of this. So happy to get this going, but also wanted to, again, brief you in case you have any questions from residents as it pertains to what we're doing here. So to give you a little history about this project, the traffic network as it exists today was really constructed largely in part from grants that we received back in 2010. And those grants were very restrictive in nature, meaning that one of the most restrictive pieces of it was that you could only procure parts that were made in America. And so whenever you're doing something wireless, that can prove quite challenging. But at any rate, we went with the funding that was allocated that we had. And a lot of the switching equipment was quickly no longer supported after about 4 years. Furthermore, one of the backhaul radios, Exalt, they actually went out of business. So therefore, we had a network, but a network that was unsupported. The funding also did not extend throughout the entire network, meaning we were able to do some intersections as far as get them on a higher speed connection, and higher speed at the time. It would be slow by today's standards. But you'll see in some future slides that it's really, the vast part was still leveraging a 900 megahertz system, which that would allow you to potentially make a change at a traffic signal, but there's no way you're going to be able to stream video or anything of that nature, over that slow of a connection. So why are we doing this, right? What are we trying to accomplish here? And this is really, quite frankly, a smart city initiative is what we're doing. I've got a brief video, and I'm not an Audi, I'm not trying to endorse a product here, but I did want to show you this because what you're finding is that a lot of car manufacturers, BMW being another one, are starting to leverage information coming at the edge of your traffic signals. Really cool stuff. So I'm going to play this briefly, and then we'll continue to talk about it.
Audi has been leading the race toward a piloted driving future since we tested the first autonomous TTS at the Bonneville Salt Flats in 2009. Since then, our piloted cars have climbed legendary mountains, beaten back track times, and even driven from San Francisco to Las Vegas. But a truly autonomous future depends on a vehicle's ability to communicate and know the world around it. As the industry leader in mobile connectivity solutions, we are adding yet another to our long list of firsts. Introducing traffic light information. City traffic lights today are often controlled by a central traffic control system. Audi has collaborated with providers to receive this data in select cities. When an equipped Audi comes into a monitored traffic light zone, it requests the light phase information from Audi data servers. If at a red light, the system displays the time until the light turns green. A better informed driver means a less stressed driver. Traffic light information is the first step to an incredibly connected smart city. Eventually, city grids will not just send, but will also receive data from road traffic, getting real-time updates when and where surges are taking place to adjust traffic light times. Imagine no more waiting at a red light while green cross lanes are empty. The city could then understand where bottlenecks have formed in real time and adjust traffic light signals to optimize traffic flow. And this is just the beginning. Audi is pioneering a future where cars aren't just sensing their surroundings, but communicating with the city and the other cars on the road. The first steps are here with traffic light information, available only from Audi as part of an Audi Connect Prime subscription.
So it's when you think about it, it seems one of the parts in the video that they talked about, they're talking about us actually, or the vehicles actually receiving the information from the traffic signals. And that really is, but that's the infant stages of this. Moreover, what you're seeing is an ecosystem that's evolving to where the cars will be speaking back to the traffic system, right? And so, in essence, giving us more information about where vehicles are located. And it also, I don't want to get off track here, but it also allows, when we're talking about the smart city ecosystem with this, it allows for more than just traffic lights. So, we're looking at other sensors, right, that we can gather data. And I'll go into that a little bit more on some future slides. So when we look at the existing conditions, this is a picture of the map, and I know it's kind of hard to see here, but what it's outlining is what we currently have in production. And all the yellow that you see here, that's going to be that 900 megahertz that I spoke to initially. And that's the majority of our network. Where you see the blue lines, that's the backhaul going to the Keeley Tower. And really, one problem with this particular design is that there is no redundancy in it, right? So you truly have one point of failure, and that being that Keeley Tower. Again, the spectrum is unlicensed, and the technology, we're over 15 years and over a decade in technology is really old. So does it work? Yes, it works in its current capacity at various intersections, meaning the 900 megahertz, again, you're not going to be able to stream or do any of that good stuff that we just talked about. So let's talk about the process, right? So in 1718, we engaged with Kimley Horn to do a traffic study for us, an analysis. And so they came back with a plan, and we engaged a company called HMI out of Irving. They're really top, best breed around the Metroplex. You see a lot of municipalities utilize it to help actually do the construction phase of this project. as you see, we've completed all these phases, and we're currently at the final phase, which is construction. We're anticipating, again, we started today as far as construction. We'll be doing the backhaul piece first, which means all the water towers will get installations on them. And when I say water towers, we have 5. We have the one at 407. We've got the one over at Castle Hills, the one off 3040, Timber Creek, and then we also have over at Bel Air. So those are the water towers, the infrastructure that we'll be placing this equipment on. We anticipate actually being finished end of March, first part of April. We will not start on the intersections until March. It'll take the month from January and February to do the actual backhaul piece. Believe it or not, that takes longer than the intersections themselves. So, stakeholders. So who are our stakeholders here? Well, TxDOT, NTTA, anybody that's in the business of moving vehicles, right? Obviously, those are going to be stakeholders within this environment. But furthermore, we're looking at our neighboring cities. You know, some of our sister cities have already taken on this initiative. I spoke about the city of Irving, also the city of Frisco. And if you look at the city of Frisco's design, it mimics our design quite well. Our sister city over here to the west of us, Flower Mound, they also have a traffic management system similar in nature to what we're doing. And why is this, you know, why does this prove to be something that is good for us? And when you think about it, you don't want it to only be in the locale of where you're at, right? So traffic congestion is not just a problem for Lewisville or Flower Mound. I mean, you're flowing through, you know, any thoroughfare that's going to go through the cities, right? You want to be able to talk to the various entities. And so that's why it's really important to be able to, if at all possible, have this really throughout your metroplex. In the DFW area, you're starting to see, I've got another map that'll show you where all of these areas, these traffic lights that have been identified that are sending this information. So very excited for us to be able to get on board with this initiative. But the staff, the internal staff, this isn't just for the traffic department or public services or your traffic engineers, right? I mean, that's obvious, right? It helps them with their timing information. It prevents them from having to go to the field to make changes. It allows them to look remotely to see what's going on with congestion. So all of those are great. But you have other departments. I talked about other sensors, for instance. Stacy's got a really cool initiative with air quality monitors, right? Well, this network we're building is robust enough to be able to take those things on. So let's say the chief had a need for a camera placement in an area, or gunshot sensors, or any of those smart things, initiatives. You can tie this into this network. So that's what's really cool. Again, the priority is traffic, but it really lends itself to a lot of other stakeholders internally within the departments. So projects, you know, the goals that we're trying to accomplish here, we really have 6 items that we feel as we need to establish in order to be successful here. And so we're going to go over those individually. So improve safety and mobility. Again, first and foremost, that's what we're trying to do. You know, we want to reduce crashes, improve travel time and delays. And you're really doing that by being able to manage, you know, the traffic congestion and making those changes. And it allows us to do it real time. Again, our traffic engineers will be able to view these intersections in real time and make configuration changes if necessary. Agency efficiency, we just talked about. Now, if we've got a problem, you know, at a light, we don't have to actually send somebody out there to make that configuration change. We can actually do that from the back office. Traveler information. That video was a good representation of that. You're seeing that now being incorporated into vehicles. You see it incorporated into apps, you know, on your telephone or whatnot. All of this information is being collected, and it's aiding anybody that's going to be, you know, traversing through our city. the communication architecture is key here, and that's really what we're doing. That's the traffic network in of itself. And so, you know, when you're looking at this, I just spoke about bandwidth limitations of our existing system. And it's hard to plan 10 years out. You know, it is. A gig is, right now, the backhaul is a gig, and that sounds like a lot, and it is a lot right now for wireless technology, but a decade from now, probably won't be. But it should be able to suffice, or we believe it will be able to suffice for the next 10 years. You look at the ATMS, and that's the Advanced Traffic Management System. I mean, that's, again, the primary purpose of this. TMC is going to be your traffic management and your EOC. We'll go through these. With your traffic management system, you see the rendering to the left. This is really what we're looking at doing initially. That's what's actually part of the funding. This is going to be over at the Keeley shop, over in Keith's traffic area. Now, long term, you can see that's actually a picture of the city of Frisco. I don't know how many of you all have been out there, but in their EOC, you know, they have the ability to bring all these camera feeds in for real-time monitoring, and we will be able to do the same. We have a lot of events, Western Days, right? And with those events, that brings traffic, brings people. Again, the system will be able to aid in that, not only in the timing, if you will, but also from a public safety standpoint. This is an example of some of, I spoke about our sister cities. That's the city of Irving and the city of Frisco. Both went with Kimley Horn as far as design. Design you see over there at the city of Frisco is very similar to ours. And some of the things outside of just the bandwidth and the stuff being supported that makes this design far superior than what we have is the fact that it allows us some redundancy. It's a true ring network. So these water towers actually make up your ring. So if one of the water towers, we had problem for whatever reason as far as connectivity, and you could not move to Keeley in one direction, you would just reverse to the other direction through this ring network. So it gives us more resiliency than we have in our current infrastructure. As far as the project schedule, this is something that we kicked off in 17-18. So I'm excited to be here today saying that we start, you know, we actually started boots on the ground, if you will, getting stuff in the field. It was actually phased in. Our first phase was just that, the actual study and the traffic management plan itself. In year 2, we had additional funding to procure equipment, and then in year 3, that's when the pandemic hit, and we kind of pumped our brakes, if you will, to ensure that funding would truly be available to move forward with the project. So fast forward to 21-22, and here we are. Total project, $1.4 million, with anticipated ongoing cost a little over $100,000. And again, we anticipate having this in production for at least the next 10 years. That's what we would like to get out of this technology investment. So with that, I would like to step back and field any questions that any of you may have.
I have a question or two. Just help me understand this. So this system is going to help all departments, pretty much. It's reading the cars. Is that what you're telling me?
So this system has the potential to help any and every department. Now, so what you saw there, the system actually does not read the cars today. So what ends up happening is you're sending information. We're sending it to a cloud service through ATMS now. And that cloud service then will propagate other vendors. So Audi has their own, if you will, that will retrieve this timing information. BMW has their own. And so you have a central hub in the cloud where we're sending this, if we're pushing that information to it. And then all these various vendors can collect that data. And that's how they're actually reading the number of seconds that are going down before the light turns green, right? So in BMW, they were calling it a green wave. They were talking about how it's more efficient with respect to fuel efficiency. They said up to 35%. Also, they were talking about with respect to the ability to reduce congestion, right, within the city by doing that timing. So what's happening is right now we're just pushing information, and the various vendors are then ingesting it. So again, going back to the video and points I touched on earlier, what you're going to see, or what I believe you're going to see, is a continued evolution of this to where we will at some point in time be receiving information from these vehicles. And that's where you're able to start to do some of this automation, right? So we know we have a collection of these vehicles in a certain area, and then automatically changing that timing without anybody even having to look at it.
But the key takeaway on the system as is implemented today is that our congestion and the timing issues that we have within the city should be smoothed out. Not going to say that it's going to make everybody's commute a dream, but it will hopefully smooth out those congestions that we have. When it sees more congestion, it can lengthen the amount of time, whereas today,
But I'm just wondering where this can go in the future, or where it will go in the future.
Yes.
It's reading, it has the ability to read your GPS on your car.
So yes and no. So the system that we have in place, and what we're doing today, speaking of what we're doing today, we're building a network, in essence, right?
The world is building a network, honey.
Yeah, yes, ma'am. So this network, this traffic network, allows us to have the bandwidth, if you will, that these technologies will run over, right? Will run across. And so what we're doing today with this network is we're pushing data out to a hosted provider. Where will it go? You very well could be right with respect to the GPS and things of that nature. One of the things that you're seeing with cars, and again, I'm not trying to get off topic, but GPS with vehicles, some manufacturers are using the actual cameras to read speed limit postings, right? Because your vehicle may come with a already pre-laid out speeds of posted roads, but as those change, it's actually leveraging that and using AI to make modifications at which your speed is, right, or what it believes the posted speed is. So yes, there are a lot of avenues where you're seeing technology utilize GPS to try and aid consumers, if you will.
Well, I will say if they can speed up 1171 during rush hour, then
Absolutely.
It's already done.
Absolutely.
Any other questions for Mr. Lee? No? Thank you so much, sir. Appreciate the summary.
Yes,
All right, we've got about 4 minutes until we can jump into the regular session, so we will take a small break. Just a quick reminder, the microphones are live and they will pick up absolutely every sound in this room.
This is tracking everything and wasting time, because I've sat where I was. Minutes one time. Work on it and get things done. Very, very technical. But then we need to be careful about privacy issues. Well, it is. It's true.
It is 7 p.m. I'm going to call the regular session of the Lewisville City Council to order. We do have a quorum. Mayor Pro Tem Green, if you wouldn't mind leading us in the invocation.
Sure. Please join me for a moment of quiet contemplation. Amen. Thank you.
Please join me in the pledge to the American and Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Mr. Kunke, I think we have you up for our presentation of the 2022 Colorpalooza logo.
Yes, let me just load an
Oh,
image.
I've got Denise, yes. And while I do love James, Denise, you look nothing like him.
Okay, then let me grab the easel real quick here. Thank you. Mayor, City Council, City Manager, thank you for having us here tonight. We are here to unveil and introduce you to the artist who created the 2022 Colorpalooza logo. Here we have Felicity Wynn, and she is a senior at Hebron High School. She became interested in design just a few years ago, and she actually plans to study it in college. So we're so thrilled to have her logo, and I must let you know that we had a record number of submissions this year, 21 in total, which leaps and bounds what we've seen in the past. And hers rose right to the top as being the very best. So without further ado, we will officially show you now, digitally, and the big reveal in print.
Very cool.
Nice.
Felicity will receive a $1,000 scholarship, which will be paid out to her school when she starts in the fall. Did you have anything else to say?
I don't think so.
No? Okay. Well, thank you. That's all.
Where will you be attending school at? Do you know yet?
I'm thinking University of North Texas.
And you're going to go into graphics?
Yes.
My daughter is a graphic designer, so good choice.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Felicity. Good luck to you.
Congratulations.
All right. Before we step into public hearing number one, I've been requested to move into executive session. So in accordance with Texas Government Code Subchapter D, Section 551.072, Real Estate Property Acquisition, and Section 551.087, Economic Development, deliberation regarding economic development negotiations. We are going to break into closed session, and we shall return momentarily.
He worked for Motorola for
They're trying to recruit more people, so they
chips for primarily vehicle stuff. That's what
in this board grants kids who get the scholarship to someone currently serving on the board. Okay. So they shadow them.
I saw the iPad and I just went,
Wrong spot.
yes, wrong. You're in my seat. You're in my seat now. Been a long day.
Oh, it has been a long day.
All right, we'll call this meeting back into in this regular session. Public hearing, item D. Number 1, public hearing, consideration on ordinance granting a zone change from Planned Development Mixed Use District, PDMU, to Planned Development Mixed Use District, PDMU, and 4 associated alternative standards to the IH-35E Corridor Overlay District related to setbacks, landscaping, block length, and building materials on an approximately 35.77 acre tract of land out of the P.K. Wagner Survey, abstract number 1342. Located at the northern terminus of Summit Avenue on the west side of IH-35E, North Simmons Freeway, and the east side of McGee Lane, as requested by Randy Rivera McAdams on behalf of Murdad Moyadi at Frontera LLC, the property owner, case number 21-09-4-PZ. A previously approved planned development for this area known as Frontera has been impacted by environmental contaminants on the site, which have changed the economic model for the development. The applicant is asking to rezone again to address this issue for the revised project now known as Lakeside Crossing. The townhome subdistrict will remain unchanged, other than all units are now planned to be rentals. The multifamily subdistrict remains unchanged. The commercial core subdistrict has been renamed mixed-use subdistrict and is now surface parked with no anticipated hotel or parking garage and reduced commercial area. The following 4 alternative standards are requested. A, to allow a setback of 12.5 feet on the townhome streets and a 14.5-foot setback on Moccasin Trail and Summit Avenue in lieu of the required 0 to 10-foot build to zone, a 14.5 to 35-foot build to zone along Moccasin Trail for the commercial and multifamily buildings in lieu of the required 0 to 10-foot build to zone, and a build-out frontage of 70% in lieu of the required 80% for the commercial and multifamily buildings. B, to allow a reduction of the landscape buffer along IH-35E to 15 feet in lieu of the required 20 feet. C, to allow an increase in the maximum block length to 1,000 feet in lieu of the required 600-foot maximum, and to allow an increase in the maximum block perimeter to 3,000 feet in lieu of the required 1,600 feet maximum. And D, to allow a reduction to 60 and 70% stone or brick for certain buildings provided 3/4-inch cement-based stucco is used for the remaining 30 or 35% in lieu of the required 80% stone or brick. The Planning and Zoning Commission recommended unanimous approval 6-0 of the planned development, and the Overlay District Board recommended unanimous approval 6-0 of the 4 alternative standards at the joint meeting on December 7th, 2021. It's recommended that the City Council approve the ordinances set forth in the caption above. We have Mr. Richard Lutke, our Planning Director, and Ashton Miller with McAdams available for questions. Mr. Lutke.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. It's my pleasure to give you a briefing on the proposal. As you can see on your screen, we have the aerial map showing its location on the northern part of the Northern Gateway, just north of FM 407, and on the west side of I-35E, and on the east side of McGee Lane. To give you a little bit of background on the zoning, as you can see, as a reminder, most of the Northern Gateway, which is outlined in pink here on this map, was zone light industrial. But the Northern Gateway plan from 2015 kind of changed the direction of development in that area. And you can see this site is outlined in kind of a dark purple area. So you can see it was kind of in the heart of that light industrial area. This image just kind of gives you an image of what could have been built on the site with the previous light industrial zoning. Starting in about 2020, when the pandemic started, the city started getting an intense amount of pressure for industrial uses, particularly at this site, and this was just one of those proposals that would have really been adverse to the surrounding developments in this area. This image kind of compares the concept plan for the Northern Gateway And then we have the image on the right-hand side, which is an aerial photograph, and we've inset the various developments that have either been constructed, approved, or as in the case of Lakeside Crossing, kind of show how all of that is starting to really come into focus, just like the concept plan had originally envisioned. As far as the timeline, the original Frontera PD was approved April 19th of this year. Shortly thereafter, it was groundwater contamination was discovered, and that was from an off-site source. So the blue line on this image kind of shows the limits of that groundwater contamination area. So that really became a challenge for the developers, so they really had to take another look at the development and the business model. So this is the new concept plan. Primarily, everything on the western side of the gas line easement has remained unchanged as far as where the buildings are located. The only major change there is on, for the townhomes on the south side of Moccasin. Those will be rentals. They will still be built as townhomes on individual lots, but they will have one owner and they'll be rental units. The primary change in the composition of the buildings and the layout occurs on the east side of the gas line easement and immediately on the immediate west side of I-35 in the mixed-use area. I've got a detail here. So the image on the left was what was approved with the original Frontera last April, and it was composed of two buildings. The northern building was basically situated, or was a wrap building where you have apartments and retail wrapping around a structured garage. Then the southern building was a partial podium, some parking underground. The plaza area was flanked with retail and restaurants. Again, on the proposed, it's very similar, but the structured parking is gone. It's basically podium style across the pretty much the entire site. You do have ground floor buildings fronting I-35 and flanking the plaza. There will be two restaurant buildings on the two corners of the plaza, and then the remainder is basically surface parking with buildings built on top of the podium. The other change there as well would be the look of the architecture, and I think there was one other thing. And there's an additional 21 additional multifamily units on top of the podium. And again, this is the sub-district plan, which pretty much remains unchanged, except for the fact that the district closest to I-35, where most of the changes have occurred, was considered commercial core district, and now it's been renamed the mixed-use district. The open space plan has also remained relatively unchanged, with a total of 5.09 acres of open space throughout. The street types have also remained unchanged. The brighter blue are the collector streets. Those are along Moccasin and Summit Avenue. Those are two-lane collector streets. The green are the residential streets, and then the orange are the standard alleys, and then the darker blue are the hybrid alleys. Those are a little bit wider. They're 24 feet wide and serve as fire lanes because they have some lots adjacent to them that do not front a street. They are referred to as muse lots, and they front onto open space. These are cross sections for the two different types of streets. They will all be lined with trees to give it a very walkable environment. This is the elevations for the conceptual elevations for the townhomes. Those again have remained unchanged from the original proposal, as well as the urban living units. Those have remained unchanged as well. This is the mixed-use elevations. They have changed slightly. The design aesthetic has pretty much remained the same. A lot of the same elements were used. It's just the way they are laid out on the site. You may notice the two restaurants on the two corners of the plaza. Those are one story, and then all of the multifamily are 4 stories on top of the podium. And you can see some of the retail or commercial uses fronting I-35 and as well as the plaza. This image is kind of a combination of the item number 2, the Gas Monkey PD that we'll be discussing here shortly, and Lakeside Crossing. So you can see the two complement each other very well and creates a very exciting mixed-use walkable area that truly becomes a place where one could live, work, and play. Will also be a destination for not only residents of Louisville, but from the greater area. So in summary, the plan is consistent with the Northern Gateway Plan, the 2025 plan, and the I-35 Corridor Redevelopment Plan. It's very harmonious with surrounding neighborhoods, opposed to the industrial zoning that was in place previously. It does provide a gradual transition of land uses for the area, provides amenities for residents of the Northern Gateway and surrounding neighborhoods, particularly the open space trails in the public plaza. Provides needed density to support the nearby DCTA, Highland Village, Lake Lewisville passenger rail station and the planned commercial developments on other portions of the Northern Gateway. And it's very complementary to the proposed Gas Monkey restaurant and entertainment venue that is proposed to the southeast. That concludes my presentation. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Council, we also have Ashton Miller and Randy Rivera available for questions from McAdams, I believe.
Richard, I had a few questions. Just out of curiosity, so I know we had a hotel before, and then we also had a little bit more commercial, and that's been kind of pared down as well. I understand the reason for why we're talking about the townhomes being rental units instead of being owned. Is there a reason why the commercial component changed?
I think it's a combination of things. Part of it is the effort to address the contamination. But I think after a closer look at it, the developer investigated, the hotel, and at this time, with the state of the economy, hospitality industry took a very big hit during COVID, and it's going to take longer than other industries to recover. So I think that factored into that decision. The reduction in the commercial was kind of a balancing act to go to the podium-style parking. I think it made the project more economical, but it also limited the amount of spaces. So they had to really balance the number of parking spaces for the different types of uses. So we worked very closely with them to maximize the parking on the site. It's just that they're not able to provide as much parking for the commercial when compared to the garage that was planned before. Of course, the garage was going to be a lot more expensive, and the podium style, and it's used in a lot of different developments throughout the Metroplex. It's a lot more economical, and it was a better fit for the project.
Okay. So speaking of parking, so the parking garage, I realize we've lost that on the commercial, the what are we calling it? The mixed use?
Yes.
But for the urban living, we still have the parking garages there?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. And so I know we're not talking about the parking requirements because that was approved by P&Z, right? But I think I saw something in there somewhere that said that was there a commitment there would be no tandem parking spaces that were counted towards the parking requirement?
That is correct.
Okay. So that's in the PD?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Just wanted to make sure. And the last question I had was, I saw something about making the maximum block length 1,000 feet versus 600. On the urban living piece, because I know the 600 feet is kind of that's the goal for a more walkable, and I think I saw somewhere in the backup that said there would be connections between with the mid-block, I guess.
Yes, pedestrian connections.
I don't really see that in the graphic, so I may just be missing it. Could you point that out where that is?
Let me bring that up again.
And I mean, it's hard to tell. There's no dimensions on here for how long the block is, so I'm not quite sure what that distance is.
There is a private drive right here, kind of in between the two wrapped components. And then I think there will be, additional interior passageways kind of in the middle of each of the building facades that will allow you to go through.
What's the length of that building? That one?
I don't have that. I'm not sure if the engineer, or if McAdams would be able to answer that question. But because of the parking structures, those do take up quite a bit, so that made the blocks a little bit larger. Would like to note that all of the alternative standards are the exact same ones that were approved for the original Frontera. So these are really kind of a repeat of what was approved back in April.
Okay, I just want to make sure that what we're approving doesn't negatively impact the walkability.
Correct. I would say that what they are proposing is a very walkable layout with the street in between the two wraps, which is a private street, so it does not count. And that's why the block is larger than what the overlay requires.
What are we calling the block? Are we calling the block, can you point where the block starts and where it ends?
Well, of course, you have Moccasin, and then you have the street here on the west side. Those are the public streets. Everything else are private. And then you also have the private drive here that will have parallel
Okay, so
parking.
that doesn't count towards the block length?
Correct.
Okay, that answers my question. Thank you.
Council?
Richard, a couple more questions, comments. First of all, why the name change?
That I would have to defer to the applicant.
I knew we'd find a way to get you up here.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. Rady Rivera, land planner with McAdams. We wanted to focus on the location of where this is. The Northern Gateway has a great proximity to the lake, and we wanted to create a name that embodied that and play off of it. Maybe this could expand, at some point to the north. That's the goal, right, for the Northern Gateway. So we felt like Lakeside Crossing was more appropriate given the location.
Second, I guess, question. What happens with the environmental component out there? How does that get dealt with?
In regards of?
Is there going to be an MSD or anything like that involved?
I believe that is correct. Yes. Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
And who owns the rental units?
Our client would own that. Murdad's Moyettes group.
Okay.
Yeah, one entity would own all of them to be able to manage that.
Okay, thanks.
And I also would like to add too, I believe there's a plan for vapor barriers as part of the construction that will assist in mitigating the issue.
Okay.
Other questions? If there are no other questions, I will entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Move to close. Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Council, if you please vote. Motion to close the public hearing passes 5-0. Next, motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the ordinance as set forth in the caption. City Attorney?
This is an ordinance of the Lewisville City Council amending the zoning ordinance by rezoning an approximately 35.77-acre tract of land out of the P.K. Wagner Survey, abstract number 1342, located at the northern terminus of Summit Avenue on the west side of I-35E North Stemmons Freeway and the east side of McGee Lane, from Planned Development Mixed-Use District zoning to Planned Development Mixed-Use District zoning, correcting the official zoning map, preserving all other portions of the zoning ordinance, determining that the public interest and general welfare demand the zoning change and amendment therein made, providing for repeal or severability, a penalty, and an effective date, and declaring an emergency.
Council, if you please vote. Motion passes 5-0. Thank you all for the hard work. Appreciate it. Public hearing number 2, consideration of an ordinance granting a zone change from light industrial district to planned development general business district and 7 associated alternative standards to the IH-35E corridor overlay district relating to building layout and orientation, landscaping, parking, and elevations on an approximately 7.035 acre tract of land being Lot R1R, Block B, Block C, Bowen Addition, Blake C. Bowen Addition, located at 1951 North Summit Avenue, as requested by Ashton Miller McAdams on behalf of Merdad Moyadi, developer, and Rounds of Fun Limited, the property owner. Case number 21-11-5-PZ. The proposed zone change will facilitate the conversion of the fun zone to a gas monkey bar and grill in conjunction with the Lakeside Crossing development. The applicant plans to expand the existing outdoor entertainment use by adding an outdoor stage for regular music events with plans for an outdoor entertainment ride at a later date. The following alternative standards are requested: to allow the new buildings to be placed as shown on the attached concept plan. B, to allow parking lot between the building and 7th Avenue. C, to allow the maximum 1,600-foot block length to be exceeded by using the existing street network. D, to allow the required parking lot trees to be planted elsewhere on site. E, to park the stage area at 1 parking space per 4 people. F, to allow windows as shown. And G, to allow the building materials as shown. The Planning and Zoning Commission recommended unanimous approval 6-0 of the plan development, and the Overlay District Board recommended the unanimous approval 6-0 of all 7 alternative standards at a joint meeting on December 7th, 2021. It's recommended that the City Council approve the ordinance and 7 associated alternative standards as set forth in the captions above. Mr. Ludke is, of course, available, and Ashton Miller as well from McAdams.
I have some questions, just a couple. What is the perimeter? Is there going to be some type of barrier between this development and the development that we were just talking about to the north?
That's going to be subject to a sound study that the applicant has committed to doing. So there's not a hard plan right now. They have some performance standards that are basically matching the sound standards for our Old Town Entertainment District. And so the findings of that study is going to determine exactly how that's going to be designed and where those elements are going to be placed. Part of this proposal does have an example of a type of sound barrier or sound screen, so to speak, that could be used. But again, really the performance standard is kind of going back to the study that will be done to assure that the sound is going outward from the stage based on how it's designed and how it's positioned, and if there is a need for any other mitigating factors. But they're not proposing really any screening walls or anything. Usually screening walls don't really have a proper place in a walkable environment. There's more of a focus on more walkability, more connectivity, and more open space. So this will be adjacent to some of the open space in the area, so that there's adequate connectivity.
Okay, so actually you answered my second question about the sound before I asked it. So what I was actually asking about a physical barrier between, so if you're in the development, the commercial development adjacent to the north, will you be able to walk over and enter into this property, or do you have to go all the way around? Is there an entrance on the north side, or do you have to go all the way to the south side?
Vehicularly, there will not be a connection, but there will be pedestrian connections. Remember, there's the trail along the gas line easement that goes kind of right through the middle of this site and also kind of divides the townhome sub-district from the mixed-use district to the north. So that's going to be the major spine that'll connect the two, but there will probably be other secondary connections.
Okay. That was my main question, that there will be pedestrian connectivity between the two, which I think is, if we weren't allowing that, that would be a huge missed opportunity. So I'm really glad to hear that.
And there are opportunities for vehicular connections as well along I-35. If there's a need to add parking in the future, they can connect to the drive that parallels I-35 in front of the mixed use, and that could connect into additional parking in a driveway along between I-35 and the putt-putt and go-kart area.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Other questions? If there are none, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Move to close the public hearing.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Council, if you please vote. motion to close the public hearing passes 5-0. I will entertain a motion to approve the ordinance.
So moved.
Mayor, just for clarification, is the ordinance with the corrected attachments, the approval of the ordinance?
Yep. So we need to have a motion to approve the ordinance and the associated alternative standards as set forth with the amended packet.
So moved.
I have a motion. I have a second from Councilmember Troyer. Council, if you would please vote. Motion approved, 5-0. Again, another great work. Appreciate the linkage. I see the removable bollards along there. I think that's going to be a great opportunity to share parking and really make that place shine. So thank you for the work. Item E.
Oh, Mayor.
No,
sorry.
sorry.
I need to read the caption.
Oh, you do need to read the caption. Go for it.
This is an ordinance of the Lewisville City Council amending the zoning ordinance by rezoning an approximately 7.035 acre tract of land being Lot 1R Block B of the Blake C. Bowen Edition located at 1951 North Summit Avenue from Light Industrial District zoning to Planned Development General Business District zoning, correcting the official zoning map, preserving all other portions of the zoning ordinance, determining that the public interest and general welfare demand the zoning change and amendment therein made, providing for repeal or severability, a penalty, and an effective date, and declaring an emergency.
All right, council, please vote. And it's approved. Julie?
Are y'all waiting on me?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
And we're approved now that you...
Yeah, you're good,
got
you've
it.
all already voted. If you'd like to vote out loud again, that's fine.
No, we're good.
The system's already voted.
No worries. We're going to move on to the Visitor Citizens Forum. Speakers must address their comments to the mayor rather than to individual council members or staff. Speakers should speak clearly and state their name and address prior to beginning their remarks. Speakers will be allowed 5 minutes for testimony. Speakers making personal, impertinent, profane, or slanderous remarks may be removed from the meeting. Unauthorized remarks from the audience, stamping of feet, whistles, yells, clapping, and similar demonstrations will not be permitted. In accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, the City Council is restricted from discussing or taking action on items not listed on the agenda. Your action can only be taken at a future meeting. I do have the following requests. First up, Mr. Kevin Falconer, or I should say Mayor Kevin Falconer. If you would state your name and address for the record, sir.
Yes. Good evening, Mayor and council members. Kevin Falconer, 2209 Whitman Lane, Carrollton, Texas, 75010. Thank you for your time tonight. As the mayor mentioned, you might know me as the mayor of one of your neighboring cities, but I'm not here for that tonight. I'm here to let you know that I am running for Denton County Commissioner Precinct 2. So I have been a Denton County resident for over 30 years, and I would be honored to have the opportunity to serve you all and the rest of Denton County if the voters so choose. You may have known that Ron Marchant, our current county commissioner in that precinct, has been there for many years. He is retiring, and so we'll be looking to fill some big shoes for Ron Marchant, and I'm looking forward to potentially doing that. But I would be honored to meet with any of you if you have that opportunity and talk with you more about that. But I also want to take this moment and just thank all of you for your public service. I know personally how much that takes of your family time and your personal time, and I admire you for doing that, and thank you again for that. And I also want to wish everyone a very Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. Thank you very much for the time.
Thank you for reaching out, Mayor. All right, I have a Mr. John Lane, 1602 Cedar Key Drive.
Mayor, I believe Mr. John Lane and Mr. Clark Lane have both left the meeting.
I do not see them either.
Them.
Okay. City Secretary, do we have any of the public comment?
No, sir, we do not have any other public comment.
All right. Moving on. Item F, consent agenda. All the following items on the consent agenda are considered to be self-explanatory by the council and will be enacted with one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member or citizen so requests. For a citizen to request removal of an item, a speaker card or e-comment must be filled out and submitted to the city secretary. We have any requests for removal? All right. I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Council, if you'd please vote. Consent agenda passes 5-0. Thank you, council. Now I'm going to flip a few pages. All right. Regular hearing, item 14, tabled item, consideration of an appointment to place number 4 on the park board. Due to Castle Hills residents not being able to serve on the park board until annexation had been completed, the city council tabled appointing a new member into place 4 at the September 13th, 2021 city council meeting. Applicants currently interested in serving on the park board have been included in the backup for this item. It's recommended that the city council consider an appointment place number 4 on the park board as set forth in the caption. Council?
I move that we appoint Chris Crawford to place number 4 on the park board as set forth in the caption.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Council, if you'd please vote. Motion passes 5-0. Welcome, Mr. Crawford. I think it's Mr. Crawford, although it is Chris Crawford, so maybe. Okay, so welcome, Mr. Crawford, to the park board, and I'm sure staff will get you up to speed quickly. Item 15, consideration of an ordinance setting forth the First Amendment to contract and exclusive franchise for collection and disposal of residential garbage, refuse, yard waste, bulky waste, and containerized commercial solid waste, and collection and processing of residential and multifamily dwelling recyclables within the city of Louisville, Texas. On November 16th, 2020, City Council approved an exclusive franchise agreement for the collection of residential garbage, refuse, yard waste, bulky waste, recyclables, containerized waste, and multifamily recycling with Allied Waste Systems Incorporated, doing business as Republic Services of Louisville, Republic. This franchise ordinance provided that the cost of disposal for special waste and sludge will be negotiated under a separate agreement. Rather than entering a separate agreement, both parties have agreed to amend the current agreement to establish a cost of service for disposing of sludge at Camelot Landfill. The city charter requires franchise amendments to be read twice, 30 days apart, and go into effect no earlier than 30 days after the final reading. The first reading was on November 15th, 2021. The second reading is on December 20th, 2021, with the amendment effective on January 19th, 2022. Staff does not anticipate a change in service delivery due to this request. It's recommended that the City Council approve the ordinance as set forth in the caption above. Council will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve is set forth in the caption.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. City Attorney?
This is an ordinance setting forth the First Amendment to contract and exclusive franchise for collection and disposal of residential garbage, refuse, yard waste, bulky waste, and containerized commercial solid waste, and collection and processing of residential and multifamily dwelling recyclables within the city of Lewisville, Texas.
Council, please vote. Motion passes 5-0. All right, item 16, consideration of an ordinance amending the fee schedule of the city of Louisville by amending fees related to solid waste and recycling services. On November 16th, 2020, City Council approved an exclusive franchise agreement for the collection of residential garbage, refuse, yard waste, bulky waste, recyclables, containerized waste, and multifamily recycling with Allied Waste Systems Incorporated, doing business as Republic Services of Louisville. Ordinance number 0277-11-ORD became effective January 1, 2021. Per the agreement, the cost of service rates are to be adjusted annually by the percentage increase in the garbage and trash index for the Dallas-Fort Worth area for the preceding 12-month period. Adjustments take effect on October 1 of the subsequent contract year. The current garbage and trash index for the Dallas-Fort Worth area, as published by the Bureau of Labor Statistics, reflect an increase of 4.13%, and the Republic Services cost of service rates will be increased by 4.0% effective January 1, 2022. It's recommended that the City Council approve the ordinance as set forth in the caption above.
Move to approve the ordinance as set forth in the caption.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. City Attorney?
This is an ordinance of the Lewisville City Council amending the fee schedule of the city of Louisville by amending fees related to solid waste and recycling services, providing a repeal or severability and an effective date, and declaring an emergency.
Council, please vote. Motion passes 5-0. Jerry, thank you for being here tonight, just in case. Really appreciate the service, and I will have to tell you that the guys are doing great work. So, Merry Christmas, and thank you for keeping our city clean.
Thank you. I'll share that with the team.
Please do. Item 17, consideration of an ordinance releasing all liens held by the city from the levy assessments on property within the Castle Hills Public Improvement District, the Castle Hills Public Improvement District Number 2, the Castle Hills Public Improvement District Number 3, the Castle Hills Public Improvement District Number 4, the Castle Hills Public Improvement District Number 5, the Castle Hills Public Improvement District Number 6, and the Castle Hills Public Improvement District Number 7, and declaring an emergency. Due to annexation, the city has refunded and or defeased all outstanding district combination contract revenue and special assessment bonds through the issuance of the city's general obligation refunding bonds, Series 2021A, Taxable Series 2021B, Series 2021C, and Taxable Series 2021D, issued December 14th, 2021. Since the district debt is no longer outstanding, the city is now needing to release the assessments and the lien for any remaining unpaid assessments on all property within the Castle Hills Public Improvement Districts. This action will remove the assessment from the future property transactions. It's recommended that the City Council approve the ordinance as stated in the caption above.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the ordinance releasing all liens for Castle Hill Public Improvement Districts Number 2, Number 3, Number 4, Number 5, Number 6, and Number 7.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. City Attorney?
This is an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Lewisville, Texas, releasing all liens held by the city from the levy of assessments on properties within Castle Hills Public Improvement District, the Castle Hills Public Improvement District. I wonder if there should be a line. I'm sorry. The Castle Hills Public Improvement District, the Castle Hills Public Improvement District Number 2, the Castle Hills Improvement District Number 3, the Castle Hills Improvement District Number 4, the Castle Hills Improvement District Number 5, the Castle Hills Improvement District Number 6, and the Castle Hills Improvement District Number 7, and declaring an emergency.
Council, if you please vote. I'm assuming the motion passed 5-0.
Aye.
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 Okay, there we go. We're having a little challenge with our
That's okay.
digital voting system, it looks like. All right, item 18, consider and act upon adoption of a resolution authorizing acquisition of .1152 acres, 5,013 square feet, right-of-way for the reconstruction of South Keeley Avenue, including construction, operation, maintenance, repair, and enlargement of South Keeley Avenue Street improvements from the intersection of Purnell Street to Main Street across portions of the properties located at 208 Main Street, 201 South Keeley Avenue, 209 Thomas Street, 536 South Keeley Avenue, 537 South Keeley Avenue, 527 South Keeley Avenue, 511 through 513 South Keeley Avenue, 419 South Keeley Avenue, a tract of land situated in the J.W. King Survey Abstract Number 696 located along the west side of South Keeley Avenue, approximately 10 feet north of the Thomas Street right-of-way, 411 South Keeley Avenue, 323 South Keeley Avenue, and 146 Watley Avenue, and the undertaking of all associated public utility improvements of the project. Determining the public necessity of such acquisition, authorizing the appointment of an appraiser and negotiator as necessary, authorizing the city manager or her designee to take all steps necessary to acquire the needed property rights in compliance with all applicable laws and resolutions, and authorizing the city attorney or her designee to institute condemnation proceedings to acquire the property rights if purchase negotiations are not successful, providing for repealing, saving, and severability clauses, and providing for an effective date. The project involves rebuilding and widening South Keeley Avenue from Purnell Street north to Main Street, including the addition of sidewalk. Associated with the scope of work for the project, right-of-way will need to be acquired from numerous parcels. As required by Texas Property Code Section 21.0113, the city is required to first attempt to acquire the necessary acquisitions from the landowners voluntarily through the making of a bona fide offer prior to filing any eminent domain procedure. Funding is available in the capital project accounts. It's recommended that the City Council consider and adopt the resolution as set forth in the caption above by using the following motion, which is prescribed by Texas Government Code 2206.053E, I move that the City of Louisville, Texas adopt the resolution described in agenda item number G18 and authorize the use of the power of eminent domain to acquire for public use the property described and depicted in attachment 1 attached to the resolution, said description and depiction being incorporated into this motion for all purposes for the construction, access, and maintenance of South Keeley Avenue, sidewalk improvements, and other associated public utility improvements. This vote applies to all units of property described and depicted in attachment 1 attached to the resolution. Mr. David Salmon is available for questions.
Do I need to read the specific motion again, since he already read it?
Good question.
Yes, okay. I move that the City of Louisville, Texas adopt the resolution described in agenda item number G18 and authorize the use of the power of eminent domain to acquire for public use the property described and depicted in attachment 1 attached to the resolution, said description and depiction being incorporated into this motion for all purposes for the construction, access, and maintenance of South Keeley Avenue, sidewalk improvements, and other associated public utility improvements. This vote applies to all units of property described and depicted in attachment 1 attached to the resolution.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Council, if you please vote. Motion passes 5-0. I'm surprised our attorney doesn't figure out how to get everything like that so that we have to read them and she doesn't. Item 19, consideration of 5 alternative standards associated with a proposed industrial building on a 19.5 acre lot legally described as Arthur James Addition, Block A, lots 2R, 3R, and 4R, located at the northeast corner of Arthur's Lane and IH-35E, South Stemmons Freeway, zoned light industrial district as requested by William Shannon of Hines. Hines plans to construct 3 office warehouse buildings with a proposed combined area of 241,320 square feet on the property, which is located within the transition subdistrict of the IH-35E Corridor Overlay District. The standards in the Overlay District were designed in anticipation of smaller structures with office, retail, and restaurant services and are challenging for industrial developments to meet. To facilitate the proposed office warehouse, this development requires the following alternative standards. A, to waive the 2,400 maximum block perimeter and use the existing street network. B, to allow a fire and life safety emergency access only driveway to be constructed at less than the 300 feet minimum driveway spacing requirement in lieu of the 300-foot spacing requirement. C, to allow a 60% reduction in the required awnings on each building's front facade. D, to allow a 7-foot secondary sidewalk in lieu of the required 12-foot secondary sidewalk. And E, to waive the 25% requirement for open space to be adjacent to public street frontage, and in lieu provide open space along the trail network. The Overlay District Board recommended unanimous approval 6-0 of these requests on December 7th, 2021. It's recommended that the City Council approve the 5 alternative standards set forth in the caption above, and Mr. Richard Lutke is available for questions.
Move to approve the 5 alternative standards as set forth in the caption.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Council, if you please vote. Motion passes 5-0. All right. So I don't believe we have any other closed session tonight, do we?
We do not.
All right. Well, with that, I'm going to start with reports, but we have a little bit of a different report tonight because to my left sits an anchor. As far as I'm concerned, she has been a rock and a foundation for me, has helped me in my role as a city council member and over this past year as mayor. Of course, our Donna Barron is retiring. This will be her last meeting. And so I'm going to give everybody an opportunity to, if you'd like to say a few words, please do so. I think we have some cupcakes or something going on afterwards. But if there are also other comments that we need to be made during all this, we can. We're kind of a hodgepodge. But I reserve the right to say some more words later on. But if we don't mind, Mr. Troyer, can we start with you tonight and we'll just work our way through?
Okay. First of all, I want to make sure I wish everyone a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. We've been through a lot this year, and I think we do have things to celebrate. So anyway, I do have some activities at the Louisville Grand Theater to talk about. First of all is performances. There is a children's magic show presented by the Masonic Lodge of Louisville on December 28th. There is a free art workshop, Portraiture in Charcoal, presented by the Visual Art League of Louisville on January 8th. And art exhibitions going on. Holiday Magic presented by the Visual Art League of Louisville through December 31st. The Gift of Art presented by the City of Louisville through December 23rd. And New Beginnings presented by the Visual Art League of Louisville January 8th through February 5th. And I just want to say, Donna, I will miss you. I echo what the mayor said. You've helped me as a council member for the last 6 years. Well, council member and board member for the last 7 years. So thank you very much. And I wish you well.
City Attorney? I don't know if yours ever turns on.
Donna, we have spent a lot of time together, and I just want you to know that I appreciate all that time we've spent together, that I've learned a lot from you, and what I've learned has made me a better lawyer, so I thank you.
City Secretary?
I just want to thank Donna. When I first became, when I interim city secretary, she was very supportive and very encouraging, and really that support gave me the knowledge that I could do this job, and I'm very thankful to her for that. And also for supporting me over the years with adding technology into my department to make things flow smoother. So she's been a great supporter.
Pete, if you wanted to say anything, you're welcome to.
Hey, Donna. Just being alongside Julie, I appreciate all of the, just the opportunity to analyze, look at things, and your vision to bring technology in to help everyone out within the city, and also just getting the chance to just laugh with you over the years. It's been great, so enjoy not being here.
We'll just keep working our way. Anybody who wants to say anything? Or you've got regular announcements to make as we button up the year.
Donna, it's been an honor and a privilege being a part of your team this last 7 years. I think the biggest thing, though, that has impressed me is the 2025 plan. It's a success with the adoption and implementation is completely because of you. You have given every department the opportunity to become a vital part of that plan and its implementation. That's why we have knocked it out of the park and have become a national role model on how to correctly and successfully implement a plan. I just want to thank you for that.
I have no report, but Don, I just want to say thank you for always being an advocate for HR. You've always supported us. You've always looked out for the employees first. And I want everybody to know that any decision you've made, you've always wanted to know how does this impact the employees. And the culture we have at the city is what you put in place, and you've led by example, and we appreciate that.
Donna, I really want to thank you for your support and friendship over the years. It's really been a lot, and thank you for just letting me do my job.
Yeah, so I think that the Parks and Recreation system would not be where it is today, nor would it be possible for it to become all it's destined to become without your support and vision. And I would also gather that that sentiment extends to most of the public servants sitting in this room today and all that have worked alongside with you. So thanks for letting your horses run.
Donna, I just want to thank you. It's not been quite 3 years yet. I know it's hard to believe after all that this city's been through and what we've been through together, but you took a chance on a guy from up north, and I'm really appreciative of that. That instilled some confidence in me that I can do this job. And ever since I've been here, you've given me all the support that I've needed to run the finance department, and I can't thank him enough for that. So it's truly been a pleasure working with you, and I will miss you. Thank you.
Mayor, to you, I'd like to say that the lake level is at 520.42. And Donna, to you, I want to thank you for taking a chance on me. You know, it's funny, I applied for the job not knowing if I would be a good candidate for a director level position. I was an assistant director in a neighboring city. And when I came, I remember Donna asking me why I wanted to come to Louisville. And my answer to her was, I don't know, why don't you tell me why I want to come to Louisville? And I had a number of flippant answers like that over the last 6 years in my career here, and I appreciate the patience and grace that you have shown me, and I believe I've learned a lot from you, and I know for a fact that your 30-plus years of service to the city of Louisville, you've touched so many lives that it's almost incredible to think about that number, and your impact will be felt for decades to come, and I want to thank you for your service and your trust and confidence in me.
So Donna, I tell you what, you've got a special place for me, honestly. Grew up in this organization. I was fortunate enough to work under you, you know, for several years directly. And I'll tell you what, you have not only made an impact in my professional career, but personally, quite frankly. I'm not only a better IT director, but I'm a better husband, better father. A lot of it's attributed to you. Truly inspirational, and I will forever feel indebted. Hate to see you go, but have fun.
I wanted to briefly tell a story about Donna that many of you guys didn't get to see. Eric and I were there, and Eric will tell, we talk about this story a lot. I may have stolen your story already. But protesters were planning to protest by the high school, and our police department was ready for them in case there was an outbreak of violence. There had been violence across the United States, and we were prepared for that. And we found out last minute they were coming to City Hall instead. And so we didn't know what was going to happen. Of course, you worry about the worst case scenario. We're preparing for all types of situations. And Eric and I stood on the 3rd floor, and we looked down, and there was Donna by herself, standing with her hands behind her back, looking out, and there was an eerie silence in the building. And I just remember thinking that was total strength at that moment. And I also thought to myself, she always leads from the front. And it's what I want to do, and it's why I'm doing this now, because I admire how you've led. So I appreciate you, and I look forward to carrying on that legacy here.
To piggyback off that a little bit, just talking about your strength, the leadership that you've shown during those difficult times, whether that's a pandemic or a raging winter storm. It's meant a lot to the team here, and it's meant a lot to the city staff, so thank you.
Thanks, Claire. I was doing fine until you went. Now, I want to thank you for always supporting the police department and the mission of the department. You took a chance on me, and I appreciate it, giving me the opportunity to lead the department. And mostly, I want to thank you for allowing me to be the police chief. That's one thing you have always done, never interfered in our business, and I appreciate that.
So Donna, she hired me 22 years ago almost, so I appreciate you taking the chance on me and also all of the growth I've had over the years. Give that credit all to you. Also, though, I wanted to let y'all know that I've worked for only 2 cities, but I've worked for 5 city managers in that time. And one of the things that I wanted you all to know is that Donna is an advocate for teamwork, and I think she always makes sure she has the right voice in the room when she's making a decision. And I think that's not something that all city managers do. and she goes out of her way to get the information she needs to make those decisions. And so that's something I think we've all learned and seen over our years here. And the second thing I think Richard talked about is the Louisville 2025 plan. But she's always done that, even before that plan, is she's gone out and got the data that we need to make the decisions that she needs to make. And they're hard decisions to make. And she's always gone out of her way to get that information. And she may not always listen. She may decide based on other information she has what decision she needs to make. But going out and getting that data and making the best decision is something I think we've all learned and will model for years to come.
Donna, thank you for giving me a chance. Your strength, you're a visionary, but not only that, you have a way of leading the city and all of us to get to where you see that we need to be. I wanted to talk about your strength. Claire did a good job. These last 2 years have been absolutely amazing with all the changes, all the unprecedented things we've gone through, and you have led calmly and with out front. You were in front of us and with strength, and that was amazing to watch. You have a lot of drive. I've always said you're one of the hardest working people I know. You are up early, you start your day early, and I think you probably end it late. I know your husband is looking forward for you focusing all that drive and really getting him straight. And so we do wish you the best in retirement. Thank you.
So even though in a couple of weeks we won't see you in your office, we will see you all over the city with all the projects and programs and planning that you have contributed during your time as city manager and before. You are a part of the DNA of this city. No matter where you go, that will always be true. And unless you can convince Mike to try Thai food, I know I'm going to see you back at some point because we're Thai buddies. So.
Oof. So Mr. Chuck Owens hired Donna Barron in 1990 as personnel director, and she built the department. I don't even think she had any employees, and Donna started going to Worship One, not long, but she built the department. She built the policies and procedures at a very interesting time in Louisville. We were growing, and Donna stepped in there and hit it running. She was obviously promoted to assistant city manager under Mr. Chuck Owens and then city manager. Donna and I were calculating today, and I'll still learn your numbers, but we think through the years that she's at a minimum conservatively attended 944 city council meetings. And you look at leadership, we all know what that is, Donna, because you showed us that. You didn't tell us, you showed us. The service, this lady has great vision. She's pedal to the metal. She's always saying, can we get that? Can we get it? Let's do it. Let's do it. You built and just extended the culture of the city of Louisville and the personnel, or the employees and the culture that we have today that has really put us in a great spot. Your legacies, there's too many to mention. You're very courageous. You're brave. You always told us to be brave. Through this last year, through COVID, and rewriting how you operated the city, and you never backed down. You did it as a group, and as Claire said, you did it alone. And you showed us how to lead by example. Through the February freeze, and all of us through the nights, and whether it was 3 a.m. or 10 in the morning, we didn't know. But Donna Barron was there. I'd like to say thanks to her family and her friends, especially you, Mike, for being part of our family and supporting Donna to help Louisville. Donna Barron loves the city of Louisville. She loves Louisville. And I think all of us, citizens, staff, councils, past staff, always consider you a good friend, and we know that that will continue. So this may happen again, but I'd like for everybody to join me. I think it's appropriate. Round of applause, standing O.
My turn. You know, I think my first exposure to Donna was when I was on the Blue Ribbon Committee And I think maybe we were new to the city manager's office fairly recently, 2015-ish, 2014. Anyway, so I really didn't know a whole lot about the city of Louisville at that time. I remember being completely impressed with, as each department came in, and learning more and more about the city, how impressed I was. And over time, I kind of started to realize that there was a reason why everything was as smooth and as functional as it was. And it's because of you. And so I remember when I decided to run for office, I came to your office, and I think we sat there for 2 hours, and you gave me a download on a whole bunch of different things. And I was completely terrified afterwards. And I thought, oh my gosh, what have I signed up for? But after the election, you were there, you took my hand, and you helped me through it, and you helped teach me all the things that I had not been exposed to yet. And you've done that for the last almost 3 years. I feel a little cheated. I only got a little less than 3 years. But I will miss you very much. I've grown to have such a tremendous amount of trust for just, you know, anything you say, I know is absolute fact. And I'm really going to miss you. I'm going to miss having some Chardonnay with you because I don't know a whole lot of people who drink Chardonnay. So thank you very much. It's been a pleasure, and I hope we can still do lunch from time to time.
And the Chardonnay.
And the Chardonnay, we'll do Chardonnay with lunch because now you don't have to come back and manage the city.
I just want to say thank you, Donna, for making us look smarter than we actually are here on the council. We get a lot of credit for things that you and the staff do, but you're kind of you're the head coach that gets everything going. So, you know, your legacy in the city, you're going to be on plenty of buildings, but I think looking at the staff around you and the admiration that they have for you is a clear indication of what your legacy is and how the city's going to keep going. So nobody I know deserves a happy and long retirement, whether you're skiing or riding a horse. We will miss you here, but you deserve a break. You worked very hard, and you're just the greatest. And you know, I've gotten to know you well over the years. I particularly enjoy in meetings when I know you're about to give somebody the business, and you kind of fold your legs real nicely and cross your hands. I'm like, uh-oh. I'm like, let me sit back and watch the show. But it's been fantastic working with you in the city, and I look forward to seeing you as a resident coming by and visiting and letting us know how your vacations are going.
This is a little difficult. It's been a rough week of saying bye. And didn't know this was happening today. I've really learned a lot in the last 7 months. I kind of jotted down well, actually, there's so many things I could say, Donna, but we need to go home tonight. Having served Louisville in this capacity 29 years ago, and Donna was, there 3 years by then? And in HR, I think there's only three of us in this room today that was here then. McNeil, me, and of course the golden boy over there. But between that service, I'm keeping my composure here, y'all, so just bear with me, okay? Just deal with it. And today, there's such a stark difference. It's light years difference. You know, and everything either progresses or it just stagnates and it dies, right? Well, it's truly amazing how much City Hall has changed. And Donna, we have it to you, to owe it all to you. I think the frontline employees would agree with that, as well as the supervisors would agree with me on that. And in saying that, because I'm going to cut this short, in saying that, I'm truly very happy about your retirement. Mike, I'm going to pray for you because I hope that you've been working out so you can run fast, baby. And I pray God blesses you with everything you deserve. Congratulations.
Well, I probably have known you the least amount of time, probably in this room right now. But it's been a great few months working with you. I've learned a lot in the last few months. It's rare that anybody gets a chance to work for anybody for 30 years, let alone a public entity. But I wish you well in your retirement for sure.
Tom.
Thank you for, Donna, thank you for your leadership, especially during the last 2 years. It's been a challenge, and I wouldn't want to have worked anywhere else besides under your leadership. And I love working for Louisville because of the culture that you built here. You are the Louisville way, and I admire you for that.
City Manager. I'm reserving executive privilege.
Okay, you didn't warn me that this is really not fair. I was a little shocked when I looked out and saw Mike Now's out in the audience, so that was a little bit of a giveaway. You know, I do love this city, and I have been blessed to work here almost 32 years. This city, all of you, you're my family. I can't look at Stacy because she's crying, and she's going to make me cry. So to serve the Louisville that I've come to love, it's just really, it's been an honor and a privilege to know each one of you. You're my family, each and every one of you. You mean so much to me. This means a lot tonight to have you say all those things, but the one thing that I know is that it's really not because culture is not because of one person. It's because all of you collectively coming together and being committed to public service and committed to this city, and that's really what makes the difference. You've been an incredible team. I could not have asked for any better. I do believe you're in excellent hands as Claire takes over and moves you forward. You know, I do believe that plans shouldn't sit on a shelf. You all know that. So I'm going to be expecting to see you really pushing those plans forward and making things happen. So I feel sorry for my husband. I am totally focused on him now. He is my project. Again, it's been an honor and privilege to work for Louisville for 32 years. I remember Chuck Owens told me when he hired me, he said, you know, you've moved around a lot. You have to stay here at least 5 years. And I thought that was the most god-awful thing anybody had ever said to me. I couldn't imagine staying anywhere for 5. But 32 years, it's gone by so quickly. So thank all of you for your commitment to this city and commitment to supporting me. I appreciate all of you. Thank you.
So, just have a couple of quick words. Donna Barron is the most politically savvy animal in Denton County. I'm just going to tell you that right now. She will deny it, and I understand why she has to, but she's pretty amazing. And I remember when we were looking to hire Donna, I happened to have that privilege too, and I was coming in the parking lot, and on the dash of her car, and I wish I could remember the title, but it was a book on succession planning. And here we were in the middle of 2025. We were in the middle of hiring a new city manager, and she was already looking at what's next. What's the vision? Where are we headed? And I kept hearing this phrase of taking a chance. She took a chance on me. I don't believe Donna Barron took a single chance. I think she knew exactly what she was getting. And that is the mark of a true leader. She leads this organization. She picked you because she knew what you were capable of. and she was willing to put in the time to help you get there. I know she's done that for me, and I am proud to have served with her on this city. I think it's awesome. And I'm very excited to see what Mike Niles will become in the future. With that, I don't think there's anything more, so I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.